Nate over at eCarrierCheck, and good morning to you. How's it going, guys? I'm excited about today. Honestly, we're talking about the site. We're getting really specific with how to use the site, and the benefits, like real life stories of how to use the site to better yourself, right?
Yep.
To further your relationships.
Yep, and we'll also talk about how deep we got into creating some of this and how we brought everything together. I got to sit on a little class for my programmers to kind of see the development team and how they work, which is insane. It's kind of mind blowing to see what they do and the codes that they bring up. So it's awesome. I love our team and our developers. So
I got to give it up. Our programming guys are right here. They're 12 feet away that way, right there. Yeah. They're here in Nebraska. We work with them daily. They just get to be immersed in us doing what we do.
Yeah, it's helpful too, because I've some of you that have called me on the phone, our programmers listen deep into our conversations and they get to figure out what's going on. So it's really nice to have them on hand and be able to relay that information quickly, so to help everyone get their situation figured out, or maybe some concerns they got going on.
Yeah.
So,
and today, honestly, for those of you watching, feel free to ask questions.
Yep.
Nate and I we can answer questions on anything really, sales, ops, what we do, why we do it. Yep. I had the opportunity, I got to tell you this is kind of funny, but I had the opportunity to work over at a local freight brokerage. It's really been a good champion of helping us kind of develop this tool and make it work. And, something that they had this client that said, hey, here's what I need to do. It was a specialty type of trailer that they needed. And they said, can you find us some people? And so they get on eCarrierCheck, and we're talking sourcing today, right? We're talking finding the right carriers for the right, for the right loads, those things like that. And so they get on eCarrierCheck and they say, well, let's look in this city where it's starting to come out of. The trailer's a crazy cattle trailer specialty thing. It's kind of nuts. And because of how we set up our carrier classifier and the way it works with our VINs and all those things, they literally found the guy in that town that actually is doing these loads.
Oh, wow.
This is how deep we've gotten with our classifier. Now, was that guy upset?
Probably.
A little bit. But I mean, I think he was also kind of freaked out. He's like, how the heck did you get my number?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can take it really deep. We can take it to the point where you're just sitting there going, whoa, that's kind of creepy. It's almost like Facebook stalking sort of, but with trucks.
It is 100%. And I love it because, these are things that you could be utilizing on your sales, your emailing, your phone calls, right? So it's really helpful information. And like you said, it's kind of creepy, but it's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that's nice about our new update, our new technology is, and we're going to show you this. We'll turn on our screen here in a few, but we have the ability to now connect to your TMS. So if you have a TMS that you want us to reach out to, you want to tell your TMS, hey, I need eCarrierCheck's portal, whatever you're thinking there, we have the ability to do kind of an eCarrierCheck Lite in your TMS. Talk through that, because there's some interesting things about what we can do just in your TMS, right? They've opened up these APIs, are ready to roll. Howdy, partners. What's up, Ryan? What's going on, man? UZC for cold calls too. Tell the shippers you keep their freight off the load boards. Man, that's just you just hit it on the head.
Exactly.
Just share that over and over, because that's really what it's all about. Think about it. The double brokering that's happening, right? You got to forgive us. We're right next to the trucking company. But the double brokering that's happening is, guess what? It's happening off load boards.
Right.
If you just by chance call a double broker, which you wouldn't, because you can see that. You can see those things right on our site, right? But if you call carriers, you're not normally getting double brokered or fraudulent activity.
Right.
So I love that comment.
Exactly.
It's good stuff. So, but talk about, obviously we've got our developers that are working on, connecting to TMSs. If you guys have a good TMS, please throw it in the comments or reach out to them and say, hey, you guys got to connect to these guys.
Yeah, before I dive deeper into what we're going to be providing for that connectivity or the integration, I'm actually doing a giveaway. So if you didn't get my email about what TMS you're utilizing,
I love this.
Send me an email. Send us an email to our support email. Tell me what TMS you utilize. Tell me how it works. Tell me what you like or don't like. And then give me your name. I'll throw you in a raffle. And just for taking the time, to fill out that survey or let me know what TMS you use, I'll throw you in a drawing. I'm going to pick 2 winners, and I'm going to send us some swag. just for taking the time out to fill out the survey.
Love
Okay, it's going to help us kind of understand where everyone else is at with TMSs and what they like, what they don't like. Kind of go along that road. So, but yeah, a few of the things I do want to touch base on is when we do start connecting with the API connectivity. There is what are we going to provide? So there's a lot of the carrier things that we're going to be providing, such as carrier profile information. So their contact information. Do they have any matching companies? So we'll show you a little bit of that today. And it's good to see why they match. Why are they similar, right? I'm just an alumni supporter.
My dashboard in good 7-8 months. Brian, we appreciate you, brother.
Hello. Thanks for being here. Yeah, we appreciate everyone. So,
Brian, I got to tell you real quick, and I know Nate's on a tangent here.
Yeah, you're fine.
Brian is like, well, first off, he's our true number one fan. I love this guy. But Brian's like my gym membership. I know it provides value. I know I need to be going. Yeah. But sometimes it's 7 to 8 months before I go.
I love that. I love it.
You know what I mean?
Love it.
Yeah. So he knows the value that we're bringing.
Yeah.
I love that guy. We're gonna have to send you something anyway. We're gonna get you some more swag.
Yeah.
But truly hope things are going well with your step deck out there. I know you're doing what you do. So thanks for being on today. But go on about TMSs and
So we talked about the contact information matching companies. You'll also get to see some recent inspections, recent crashes, right? And then we also have some pretty cool ways of searching carriers for those that are new here. You can search by location or even lane. So the lane one's kind of fun. I usually help some brokers out finding tankers that are running a specific lane.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something we like to help you guys out with. Just let us know what you need. But yeah, that's a little bit of taste of what we're going to be providing on the API when we connect with those TMSs. So like I said, reach out to us. Let us know what you use. And then shout out, give me your name so I can put you in a drawing and we'll go from there.
Yeah. I know something that's really important, obviously, is a little bit more of our webhook. If you want to talk about that a little bit too.
As far as, our daily updating or our daily authority updates. Yeah. So when we get our daily monitoring completed, you'll be able to see, for those of you who are in eCarrierCheck, we have some tiles, and those will be actually updated every week or every day. Sorry.
Every day, yeah.
So you'll be able to see if a carrier's, active, if they're reactivated or on notice. So those are just a few things that kind of touch on.
They just applied their authority,
right?
Things like that.
And these are good things to kind of be updated on. Especially if you're a dispatcher and you're new to this industry, maybe you want to monitor some carriers before they actually go active, and now you can reach out to them. They probably don't have a dispatcher, right? So, something you can do there. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And from a broker standpoint, when it's about time that they have their insurance certificate coming up, we'll notify you on those things. And it's one of those things that's like, oh, wait a minute, I use that guy off and I need to go out and request his insurance certificate again and just make sure I'm going through the process.
Yeah, definitely good things to stay on top of, in my opinion. So.
Absolutely. Obviously today we're talking about how, I talk about how deep we can get. I was at that broker. We ended up finding the house carrier, which was really awkward. It was kind of an awkward conversation. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Just because I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But we want to get into how deep can we really find carriers.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so when we're looking for people, maybe go into here's a situation that happened also yesterday. Is the carrier that broker was working with just wasn't available, right? This is outside of the one where we found the house carrier, but the carrier wasn't available and he needed to find somebody similar, right? So talk about our classifier, where it was and even where it's at now, because it's considerably deeper in those things. So.
Yeah, this is part of the educational tutorial I went through with our programmers. But before, we only had a certain amount of data points, right, to kind of help classify our carriers. Now we have, 100, right, probably more. But this helps us classify those carriers, if they have the right equipment or what type of equipment they have, or even, where they're from, how big they are. So these are some data points. Like I said, now we have 100, right? So we have more things that we take into consideration to help you find the carrier that makes sense to your load. Yeah. Maybe those ones you want to start, reaching out to dispatch for. And then some other cool things that are also kind of weird, and I love it, but is if you have carriers already, we can help you find similar carriers to the ones you have. If you're taking over the flatbed world, let's go find more like the guy you have now. So those are, just on top of my head, what kind of brings, me to that point was, it's hard to find those carriers that make sense, right? You're emailing, you're living and dying by the load board. It's good to have a book of business of relationships. Okay. So, this is why it's so helpful to find those carriers that make sense, call them. I'm not saying to stay off the load boards. Maybe you need it. Maybe something happens, right?
Yeah.
Keep it in your back pocket.
There's a place for load boards. I have no issue with load boards.
Right.
I think really what it comes down to is, what it really comes down to is I believe your sourcing efforts should be, and this depends on what you are, but let's say you're a freight broker.
Right.
If you're a freight broker, you really should, look for carriers that are local, or look for carriers that are running that lane that maybe need to get back home. Right. But then at the same time, have the load board available. We have some great relationships with load boards.
Yep.
But if you need to get it up on a load board to cast a bigger net, get it up there, just use a platform to vet them. Right.
Exactly. Yep.
And then go from there. It was really interesting. I was on the phone with those brokers, and I got to hear them talking about, they were talking to one of the shippers, and one of the shippers said specifically, he goes, if you post up my loads, I have enough people trying to get my freight, they'll take screenshots and send them to me. And I'll take you off my list.
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed that out. So it's important to build those relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, it's plain and simple.
Yeah, because when I was a freight broker, I loved load boards. This is kind of pre, 2017, 18, 19, right?
Yep.
You could just post up a load. You could get a carrier. We didn't really have all the crazy double brokering thing going on unless Landstar called. But you didn't have all this craziness that's going on right now.
Right.
You could post up loads, and there was a time and place, right?
Yep.
But I got so dependent on them that I didn't have a solution, a good solution,
right?
A deep solution, our classifier is insane.
Right.
Exactly. But, instead of just posting and praying, now you've got this. You've got an arsenal right here.
Exactly.
To be able to reach out to those people. So talk us through, obviously right now you're looking at van freight or van carriers that are in the Houston market. No, you're in open deck. Now you're in dry. Okay, you're going back and forth. That's okay.
Yeah.
But we have the ability to really sort this by anything that you would want.
Right. And so what's huge is we have a machine learning algorithm, right? So the way we show these leads right here, these are more relevant carriers that you should be reaching out to. Now, if I go to page 157, the relevancy starts to drop off. Okay. So we put them, right in front of you. You can see how it's already sorted by relevance. Right. And then we talk about those data points, right? These data points help us. These are what our filters do to help you find those carriers that make sense. So I'm sorry, I forgot what you said, but this is why our filters are so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to jump in on this, because if I get on Google and I search up the word taco, right? For some odd reason, I don't get to page 6. Usually page 1 and 2 kind of get me to where I need to be.
Exactly.
Right? So we've taken that same methodology. The other nice thing is, because we've taken that sort of insane filter function on the left side over there.
Right.
I'll give you an example. When I was a freight broker, I was challenged to work with larger carriers, right? I wasn't getting on the horn and calling JB Hunt. Can I get rid of these deadbeat brokers? Yeah, Frank G, what's up, man?
What is up, Frank?
It is super good to hear from you, man. That's insane. Absolutely, Frank. We want to give you the ability to find brokers that make more sense for you, right?
Yeah, this essentially gives you the power to steer your company in the direction you want it to. Do you want brokers or you don't?
Yeah.
Like, you get that freedom.
Yeah. And Frank asks about our freight brokers. Obviously you can find freight brokers on our site. Frank's the man. I can't get enough of Frank. I haven't heard from you for a while, so I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah.
But if you get into our brokers, and we'll sideswipe for just a second here because Frank's on and I got to get enough of this.
Yeah.
something that's challenging when you're trying to find freight brokers as a carrier. So I'm talking about Brian. I'm talking about anybody that's on here that's a carrier.
Right.
Shaggy's always talking about, hey, carriers, you got to get more direct shippers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't be so dependent on brokers off load boards.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have direct brokers. You got to have direct shippers, and then load board guys, right? It depends on who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to show you this, because here's what it really all comes down to: is there are thousands of freight brokers, right? But how many of them are active? How many of them are actually doing things? How many of them are actually going about actually, fully, they're full businesses. They, you know what I mean? Yep. And I think what really starts to prove that is our filter right here. Do they have a website? Are they on LinkedIn? Do they have Facebook? And I just want to push this because it's such an interesting thing. Obviously, we have the phone numbers and stuff blinded out, because YouTube gets a little feisty about that. We got
in trouble.
But we did. But take a look at this. Now it's like, wait a minute, these guys, look at all this. So if you come over here, you'll see, wait a minute, they do quite a bit. We're scraping this off their website. These are kind of foreshadowing things that are coming on our site. But we'll take you right out to their website. We'll take you to their Facebook page, their LinkedIn. You can see how active these people are. Right. Because it'd be nice to get back to, carriers working with brokers they can trust, right? Carriers working with, people. So if you come into our site, not only can you, do I recommend you, most carriers have factoring companies, vet them on our site, put in their MC, look up that broker and say, hey, do they have a Facebook page? Do they have a LinkedIn? Do they have credit? I'm sure your factoring company is going to run the credit, right? So such an interesting question. Obviously, a lot of the double brokering that's coming along are carriers representing themselves as an asset, and then they get out on a load board and probably switch MCs and try to resell it, right? And so that's something that's really important. The other thing that I think is really important, and Frank got me off on a tangent. I'm super sorry about this. But if we build our community the way we're wanting to and the way we're doing things right now, you can get in. And our community-driven platform will take time to leave a review on that broker, on that carrier. We can put in freight flops. We can put in, kudos to these people and say, hey, this is a real company. I worked with Frank, and he's a good dude, right? Or you can put in a freight flop and say, hey, and this is all community-driven, so everybody's going to see that. We're all going to try to rise to the top. We're all going to try to be the cream. And so what a wonderful comment, Frank. I love having you on. It's super good to hear from you. But we're trying to help you find, as a carrier, more brokers that make sense for you.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. And, we do a lot of blind calling. You know what I mean? Like, you call and you're just not sure if this is going to be the right fit or if this is even going to make sense. So we're trying to get to that point where we can help you guys understand, okay, this guy makes sense for me to call. He specializes in maybe intermodal, right? I'm going to call him. Let's see what kind of loads he has down there in Atlanta, maybe, right? So it's, like Jared said, it's a foreshadowing thing. So definitely stay tuned. Because we're not done.
yeah, it's definitely something that's coming. I think something that's really interesting, Shaggy talks about this. I miss you guys, you on parole.
We are on parole.
Frank, we're actually doing this from our cell.
yeah, work release,
That's work release, it's fine. But something that Shaggy talks about is, you work in your triangle, you work in your box or your bow tie, as he calls it. And I think as a carrier, I used to work for a carrier. We always wanted to do 2 to 3 things. Number one is, how do we find local shippers that were in the areas that we worked in? And for us, we were, kind of Rocky Mountain area, right? So we'd have, the major cities, and we'd work with finding direct shippers, right? But then on the flip side, we'd try to find direct brokers. And what I mean by that is they're people that you've reached out to that are local, that have local freight, right? If I call around where we're at to active brokers, majority of the time they're working with local shippers, because guess what? They run into them at the friggin' grocery store.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you work that methodology as a carrier and say, okay, I got to find direct shippers. Then I'm going to find direct brokers. Then maybe I'll post my truck on the load boards, but that's your biggest risk, right? Every day you guys should be assessing what's your biggest risk. Every single day. And that's our hope, is to help you make those decisions. Do brokers generally deal with shippers in their area, or just whatever?
Oh, good question.
That is such a great question. A majority of brokers, especially if they've been in the industry for a while, normally what we see is that local brokers work with local carriers as well as local shippers. Now, there's a lot of crazy noise in this industry right now, right? There's all the automated phone calls and automated emails and, all the people from, let's just say it, like the Philippines or things like that, where they're just making 7 million calls a day. Right. All those automated things, Brian, have really kind of skewed some of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely sort of skewed that where, you could be from California, but we're working with shippers all over the country.
Right.
The brokerage I used to work for, we worked with a lot of shippers all over the country, but it was really specialized. Right. It was shippers that made sense for them to help with adding value.
Right.
Some of those values, I believe, have kind of lowered. Right. In my opinion.
Yeah.
I know Frank just kind of threw me on a tangent. Why don't we go back over, because I want you to see the carriers and how deep we can get in here. And just for the sake of it, let's go. Yeah, just pick dry vans out. Let's go. Ohio sounds good. Something real quick on that, by the way.
There we go back.
Yeah, just real quick on just that same page. Just boom, real quick. Stay right here. Something that I always liked when I was trying to source carriers. Yes, I always tried to find local carriers, but sometimes you make 40 calls. Nobody has the ability, capacity, right? So we wanted to make sure that you could see inspection data as well. And so that's what we're meaning operating near. Sometimes if I'm striking out locally, I just made 30 calls. Nobody has capacity. Everybody's busy, right? And it depends on the economic swing of where people are at. But sometimes I just want to work and find people that are operating in that area.
You're right. They're familiar with that area. So
Right.
let's see how often they're there. Let's see what maybe they don't have a backhaul.
Exactly.
So, and that takes a phone call, right? But yeah, I love that piece of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing goes for the lane data.
Right.
So anytime you are, and especially for you guys that with TMSs will do lane searches, it's one of those things where why not look up, maybe we do have a load from Ohio down to Kentucky, right? And we can get real granular and actually put in the cities if we want.
Yep.
But maybe what we do is instead of finding those carriers from Ohio going to Kentucky, maybe we flip-flop this. And you see how they're like Mount Washington, all this stuff. Go back and just reverse that real quick, right? So if I reverse this, boom, now we're going to find all these carriers from that, northern Kentucky area, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something to take into consideration. The filter function, though, on the left side, I got to say, I always worked better with people like Brian. There wasn't a lot of hoops. There's a lot more genuineness. There was a lot more direct contact with carriers. Personally, I worked better with small to mid-sized carriers, right? So you can go down here and search our database for 2 to 15, 2 to 50, whatever you want. And you can double click on all those, right? But we're going to show you those people that may make more sense for your business.
Yep. And not only for just the freight brokers, I mean, dispatchers as well. Like, what are you comfortable reaching out to? Smaller trucking companies or maybe those big dogs? They probably have, their own thing going on, but, let's help you find a list that just makes sense for you to be working through. So that's why these filters are huge. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a different list than anyone else is searching, right? Instead of you going on on Facebook and buying a list or, whatever that is,
right.
You get the freedom to, like I said, steer your company and steer your business in the direction you want to go.
I'll have to have you control this. You seem to have the best. But we have other options here in our filter function, right? We can look go down a little bit. Yeah. We can look for things that may make more sense for you. Team drivers, carriers that have the ability to trailer drop. If you are, go to see more on operating authority. Right there. No, up one more. There you go. We can help you find Mexico carriers or freight forwarders, right? I mean, so you just keep pushing the buttons until you get to the list that you want.
Right.
Because our ultimate goal is to give you the most successful list.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and just to finish off some of those filters for those that are, that aren't a subscriber, but we can do company age as well.
Yeah. And
then it specializes depending on what type of equipment. So I know we're in, vans. If I go to flatbed, this is going to be specialized towards flatbed. Right. So
I love that,
which is super nice.
I super love that. So let's look at Clayton real quick. Okay. This cat, if I go over here, you see he's general freight, he's doing vans. If you keep coming across our carrier row, we're going to show you their safety scores. We're going to show you matching companies, right? And all you do is click on that. And this particular company right here, which looks like he may have a towing company, which some carriers do that, where they've they've paid too much money to tow truck companies. I bet Brian's got some scars to tow truck companies. But it's one of those things where, hey, this guy's got a towing company, and it looks like, for instance, they have the same email address, same phone number, right? We can do that same thing with address. We can do that same thing with equipment. We really kind of break things down for carriers, and give you that rundown. That will tell you how many crashes in the last 12 months, how many inspections we've seen. But let's say that you're using Clayton, okay? And this is that classifier we were talking about earlier. Let's say you're using Clayton all the time. This guy's good. He's a van guy in Liberty, Indiana. He's got about 9 power units. I need to find more carriers for him. Or let's say you're a shipper and you want to find shippers that make sense for him. Go into the carrier real quick before we click on that. And you can see where Clayton kind of goes, right? This cat's been around since 04. We should have him on. It'd be kind of fun. But, he's been around since 04. So this guy's been, here. We give you the ability to leave notes. So if I talk to, Mr. Clayton, we can do that aspect of things. And those will show up on your list. So we haven't even talked about that, but we'll talk about that later. But go down real quick to the map is really what I'm looking for. Okay, so this guy likes the Corn Belt, right? He's kind of kicking the Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, sort of southern Missouri. You can see he's got his little bow tie or rhombus or square, triangle, right? So go back real quick, and let's break this similar, carriers thing down. Is we give you the ability to come in, click that button, and let's find you another partner, another relationship. And our system goes out and finds those people that are right in that area that look similar. Maybe they run the same network, right? Look at this. First guy's 5. They're all van guys. You can see that on the left side over there. But you can see, look, there's a 5 power unit, a 13 power unit. They're all doing general freight. It's definitely one of those things where it's really convenient to be able to go, man, I need to move this load. Let's go.
And so this kind of brings me to the next point. You see how beneficial it is to have that niche, right? So maybe it is van or flatbed, or maybe it's a specific area. So it's nice to have that niche. And then that way, when you're reaching out to those carriers or even shippers, you understand that industry. So have that niche, and eCarrierCheck can really help you find that as well, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. I think something that's interesting, and we'll talk about niche for a sec, because we had one of our users on the other day. And they were talking about niche. And they're like, well, I don't want to necessarily, having this information is better than having 2 extra employees. My God, isn't that the truth, Frank?
It is, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can just really get direct to the point. You can get into it and go. But I had a guy call the other day and say, hey, how important is niche? How deep does the niche got to go? And I said, well, here's what I suggest, right? Your niche can be as simple as equipment. Your niche can be as simple as geographic area, right? Here's where your niche gets deep, okay? So at some point, you're going to go from that, sort of beginning brokerage, right, to kind of intermediate to advanced. As you go, you'll find that your niche becomes more important because you communicate to shippers the same way they communicate to their clients. I'll give you an example. When you call a rental company and you say, hey, this is Nate over at eCarrierCheck, and we specialize specifically in moving light towers and, pivot trailers, right? Or something like that. You see where I'm going with that? All of a sudden, this guy's like, wait a minute, this guy's talking my lingo.
Exactly.
So does it have to start at the beginning? No, your niche can just be generalized. But as you grow, you're going to move down the ladder. And that's when I recommend, really being an inch wide and a mile deep. You know what I mean? Frank rarely goes to a load board ever, to be honest with you, unless it's an emergency, right? But Frank's got, a niche, and he's got niche carriers that follow him and have followed him for a couple decades at this point, right? So it's one of those things. It's that niche will create itself if you're looking for it.
Right, and to help with that niche, to add to that, actually, is we actually even have a commodity search.
I love this.
So maybe you are the king of hauling pipe, or towers or whatever that is.
Right.
Well, how about we go find those carriers that say they like to haul that, right? So what's nice is, when they sign up with FMCSA, we get a good feel of what they do, how, what they maybe specialize in. So it's kind of nice that we show you that just by hovering over these images. Okay, oh, look at this. Likes to do beverages or paper products.
And let's go real deep here. Clear the search real quick. And what I want you to look for, the other day I had a guy call and said, hey, I got to find some carriers that are hauling eggs.
Oh, okay.
And it was probably one of the more, you might have to clear it out. Yeah. And just go into Chicago. He was up in Chicago, and he was trying to find carriers that can haul eggs out of that area. And I said, well, let me see what we can do for you. And we did this search just like Nate's doing. And all of a sudden, look at this. Eggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to find those specialty guys, right? Maybe, especially as you get into niche industries, you can find those niche carriers. Right. If there's any questions, Q&A, I'm always open. I don't use load boards or carriers off load boards. Yeah, it's just dirty water right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really dirty. I don't know how to clean it other than the industry really starts to put maybe, some pressure on the FMCSA, or they really people start to utilize load boards like not load boards, but sourcing platforms like eCarrierCheck, where you focus fully on relationships, not only from a shipper standpoint. Obviously, we're just talking carriers today, and brokers a little bit. But one of those things that is out there that we can help with.
Yeah, exactly. And for those of you who are new, I see we got quite a bit of people here today. Thank you for your time, taking time to kind of watch this. But if you do want to see a more personalized demo, whether you're a broker, dispatcher, or carrier, you see a little thing going on, the little banner at the bottom. Just sign up for a demo. We'll send you, I believe it's 3 types of demos. So if you're a carrier, watch the carrier one. If you're a broker, watch the broker one, right? Or watch all 3 if you like.
Yeah.
And then reach out to us if you have any questions. We're always open to the questions. I'm by my phone. If I don't get to you, leave a voicemail, leave an email, we'll get back to you. So.
Absolutely. Really quickly. The other side of this too is for the people that are users, or that have liked our software and it's helped them grow.
Mm-hmm.
We are working on trying to build up maybe our search optimization. Mm-hmm. Take the time, if you guys could, go onto Google, go onto eCarrierCheck reviews and give us a review. Because it does help how people find us. Right.
For sure.
So
yeah, leave us a review and let us know that you did, and maybe you'll get some swag.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're always open to sending some swag. I'll send you my shirt, really.
Yeah, you will.
As long as you're an XL, I'm open. I'm open to that. So, we're going to be doing this every week. Just got off the end of it and watch it later. Cool.
Sounds good.
We're definitely doing this every week with our live Q&As. Next week, we'll actually do it on, I believe, a Thursday, just because I'm on the road and we're trying to meet with some other TMSs and really, get that connectivity out there right now. So we're excited about that update. So kudos to the programmers, kudos to you guys and Nate. Honestly, you call everybody back. I love that. But as far as today, I feel pretty good. We went really kind of deep, I thought.
I thought today was very informative. Obviously, like Jared said, we're going to be going live, almost twice a week, just trying to bring some value. So, try to tune in when you can. If not, like Edward, watch it later. Let us know if you had questions. We'll be going live again this Friday. We might be doing some live calls.
Yeah, we're doing some sales calls.
Maybe a little surprise. Yeah. So
we'll see.
Check us out this Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, and come join us and have some fun. So
thanks for the comments, the questions. We love our audience. We wouldn't be doing this without you guys. And I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. Keep grinding.